me a god. You call me a god.
People who reacted.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. All right, we're at the season finale, and of course, I say my favorite form of b-ball, Alchemy, shooting for the last episode of this inaugural season. We will be back for another season 2. We appreciate all the love and kind words that we've been getting on these videos, and we'll continue to push and continue to develop this channel to give you guys what you want and need. So I hope that you all enjoyed that in Allen Houston video. He was a guard for the New York Knicks, played a long time. Wasn't terribly athletic, but was an amazing shooter. As you heard him say, he came from a player family tree. And so what I'm here to bring you guys is those secrets, that alchemy that makes a special shooter that's consistent through all lines of shooters. And of course, there are evolutions. So even though you master it, which I do feel like I'm a master in shooting, I'm a specialist in shooting, there are still things to learn. There are still outliers, and there's still an evolution coming. And it's you can see it with of course we saw with Steph Curry, but there's another generation of shooters coming with this Trae Young pack, and I think maybe a couple years after him, we're going to see some really next level shooting out there. And I can't wait to see it. I'm still waiting for that left hand Steph Curry, that left hand Trae Young, that left hand Ray Allen, that I think will really shake up what we consider to be one of the best, the best shooters in the league. All right, so on this page, I have 3 of my favorite players to watch shoot. I was a big fan of Reggie Miller and Ray Allen, and being obsessed with their shooting form and their similarities in how they shot. You can even look at these 2 pictures right here and see similarities. Reggie Miller's elbow wasn't as clean as Ray Allen's was. His elbow was a bit more outside, and so he wasn't as great of a 3-point shooter as Ray Allen was. But they both had crazy work ethic, were very consistent in taking care of their bodies, and amazing balance on the rise of their shot. And of course, we have the evolution of these 2 players, Steph Curry in the center, who will be highlighted here in multiple slides. Okay, and the evolution of Steph Curry with him isn't just them making it cool to shoot 3-pointers. I'll also go through some of the evolution of the form that Steph Curry has brought in. Remember, Steph Curry comes from a player tree as well, and so he was around Ray Allen, he was around Reggie Miller. This has been discussed in interviews, and he was able to pick up on a lot of what they used and what we don't see, that repetition, that practice, the form, the obsession on shooting the same way. Ray Allen is popular for saying that every time he shoots the ball, he knows exactly which mechanic was off, based on whether the shot was short, or actually rather as soon as it leaves his hands. Now, I'll give you a secret here to know about a real shooter and how much work they put in, and how obsessed they are with the mechanics of it all, is to look at their legs. I want you to focus here on Ray Allen's calves. All right. These strong calves allow him to stabilize himself mid-air and always be balanced on his shot. That's why his form is so clean and looks the same. Reggie Miller doesn't have as big calves, and so as the game will go on, you will see he wouldn't shoot as consistently. He wasn't as physically strong as Ray Allen was core-wise, okay? But he made up for it with a lot of grit out there. Of course, I think Ray Allen is a better shooter than Reggie Miller, but there is a mentality and there is an aggressiveness. There's a swag that comes to the shooting game, and Reggie Miller was dripped in it from way back when he was in college and he had the cool part. So yeah, no slight to Ray Allen. Ray Allen is because Reggie was and it goes on. You know, Steph Curry is not here without the iteration of these players before. My favorite player to watch shoot is Ray Allen because of those obsessive mechanics that he goes into. Now, there's videos out there where he talks about it. I encourage you to look at it. I don't think he fully, he's competitive. He has sons. I don't think he shares all of the secrets that he's developed over the years, and that's his right not to do that. But here we're going to let some of those secrets be known, and you're going to get it firsthand from me, someone who considers themselves a student of shooting. I've mastered it to a certain degree. I'm always studying and learning, and it's really been a pleasure to watch shooters like Steph Curry really take specifically this position to the next level in their way of shooting. Okay, so let's go on to the next slide. We're going to discuss some of the principles of basketball. Of course, I have Steph Curry running mate. You know, Mark Jackson said that the best shooting backcourt before they became it. Well, I can easily see why he had that conclusion. I was an early fan of watching Golden State Warriors games. This was actually right before Curry's injury. Then I kind of hopped off with all the bandwagon when they really started to win games, and also didn't like how they dealt with Mark Jackson. But before then, I loved watching this backcourt as they were growing into their skills because they always were great shooters. They took it to the next level when Steph Curry got Draymond Green and was able to move off ball more, where he could run through screens because he had a great motor and he knew how to build up his body from all those years of around in Davidson. He rehabbed amazingly when he got injured in the NBA, and he learned from Ray Allen that if you have a quick release and you're balanced in rising up, then you'll be able to be an amazing shooter and you'll get shots off. You feel me? There is not a lot of defense can do against a good shooter, especially if you have average height and you rise and you release high. But it all starts with the square up with the basket. And so what we're talking about, the square up, is the base, the foundation where you engage your entire body to prepare for the release. So I'm going to talk about it in two phases. But remember, this is meant to be a clean action, no hitches, straight up and through. And so the most important part that most people look over is the square up. It's where you square up with the basketball, you get your base set and you release. And I think these two particular gifts show it very clearly what the square up is. And then we're going to show the release, and then on the release we're going to transfer to the next slide where I'll discuss that catapult, that release, the bit of science behind it, but more so just the mechanics that you need to know. All right, so square up. Things we look for with the square up: you need to be on your tippy toes. Being on your tippy toes allows for you to balance the weight on each foot. It also allows for you to jump straight up in the air. And here's a little secret: it also pushes you a bit forward on the shot, which makes up for typically when we shoot, our eyes want to pull the shot a little bit shorter, but you don't want that. So leaning on the tip pushes the weight to the front of your feet. That allows for you to jump up and actually put pressure along the front kinetically through the front of your legs all the way up to your hips, which allows for you to push the ball a little bit forward, which gives you more strength on your shot. That means from a distance, the ball goes further. I have never seen a good flat-footed shooter. It does not exist. You must start it from the tiptoes of your feet. If you look at the first gift here, you'll see when Klay Thompson is coming off the screen, he's on his tiptoes as soon as he turns around. I know certain coaches who have whole practices, and they actually have a special shoe that they put in their players where their heels can never touch the ground. All right, so you see Klay Thompson, we're just going to focus on his feet. He comes around, stays on tippy toes, heels never touch the ground, and he rises straight up. All right, so that power kinetically goes straight up. You see he squares up with the hoop, which means the lead leg is slightly in front of the other, foot pointing towards the basket. The lead leg is whichever hand you shoot with. So we're going to see the right hand stop right in front. He balances his shot, and then it all goes up. This is a kinetic action. Now, for my younger players who aren't quite as strong enough to get the shot up, it doesn't take a lot of strength. I would say if you're older than 12 to 13 years old, if you get a solid base, you can shoot from anywhere on the court. But the important part is maintaining your form, and that's where we see the shooters really separate themselves. And in order to get good at shooting that shot, I'll talk about this later in the video, you must work inside out. Klay Thompson did not start with shooting threes. Another guy whose dad was in the NBA. He started shooting in front of the basket and slowly worked his way back. It's important to be disciplined, maintain your form, stay on your tiptoes, square your feet up, back straight, which means you're shooting straight up and holding your follow through. All right. It comes from repetition. All right. So for the other one, the below gift right here, I want you to look and see how he squares up with the basket. That elbow is straight. Klay Thompson's always had an amazing elbow. He hugs it tight. Steph Curry hugs it extremely tight, almost rubbing his ribs on his release, which allows for a really quick action. Also maximizes the power in that shot. But you see, Klay Thompson's a bigger player. He doesn't have to hold it as tight to get as much strength on it. But I just want you to focus on how straight that elbow is. It's directly lined up. There it is there with the lead leg and elbow is directly aligned with one another. Okay, you hold that follow through. With the outside elbow, you have to work on it because naturally your elbow is going to want to drift outside, or you're going to try to overcompensate and hug it too tight. But it's better to hug it too tight to your body than to let it drift outside, because it will give your ball a funny rotation and you won't be as accurate on the shot. I believe Allen Houston in the intro video also discussed that principle. That elbow is very important. Most coaches on every level, I'm pretty sure, discuss the importance of keeping that elbow straight, because it feeds into your follow through and it answers that accuracy. The last thing you want to be concerned about is that your ball is not leaving straight from your fingers, and the only way to do that is to keep that elbow straight. And then after you master keeping that elbow straight, that simple mechanic of keeping that elbow straight, which is squaring up with the basket. Sometimes players like KD, you'll see they'll actually hitch their right leg in. It's kind of awkward, like a bow-legged thing, and that's because it forces their elbow in further into their body and keeps the ball straight, because you're looking at the rim. So if you keep that ball straight, your elbow tucked, if you follow through where your head is, that shot will be straight. So if you fix that mechanic alone right there, there's only a couple of things that you need to make sure, and that's the softness of the shot, the height of the release. Right? Shooting can be incredibly complex, but at the end of the day, it's actually very basic motions that add up. But it's important that you understand the concept. A lot of people will shoot and think that it's an upper body motion. No, it's a full body motion and it's clean. All right. I'm going to show you a hitch that you shouldn't have in your jump shot that Klay Thompson really doesn't have, but he works his way back to it. So it's a bit of a hitch action. All right. So look, he slowly, when he pivots there, he puts himself out of position and he has to bring his foot back in order to directly balance the weight under him. All right. So I'm gonna let it run again. And I'm just gonna do like a boom, boom to show him stepping in to it. So off, boom, boom, back in, and the ball's gone. All right. So that means from that position that he gets footed right there, he's always balanced for the shot. He's always a threat to shoot. Now, and some more alchemy here. There are certain players, and I used to be one of these, who always had that bit of a hitch where you would step out and then step back in, and it would give you more of a balanced shot. The reason why you would do that, it resets your position, resets the weight on both of your feet, and allows for you to shoot directly up. For my shooters out there, if you're already a good shooter, you'll notice you have that hitch. I'm pretty sure it's really hard to get rid of. Steph Curry still sometimes do it, but he's so good off the dribble, they can kind of sneak out and get his balance while in the dribble and then pull it back in. All right, you see some players who are incredibly, well, I consider this to be athletic, like Ray Allen, whose legs are really strong, where you will literally see them self-correct to square up with the basketball hoop mid-air, which is extremely strong, which is extremely hard. You have to have a strong core and have to have strong legs, and you have to be able to maintain it, because the higher you jump, the more your body wants to lose discipline, the more your elbows will stick out, the more strength you lose on your shot. And so it's more touch rather. So it's important that if you have that hitch, notice it and just tighten it up. You know, it's not a problem to have it. You see Klay Thompson gets his shot off with ease there, but it's good to be aware of. So it could be something that you can work on. So the first lesson we want to learn here is squaring up with the basketball hoop. All right, the catapult. This is what I call it, the catapult. Right here, we're focusing on the release. Now, you're looking at this and you're saying, okay, we're focusing on the release. Why is he mentioning a slight bend of the knees? That's where your power comes from. That's where you adjust a lot of your power. And yeah, I emphasize this slight bend of the knees because we want you to release the ball high, but don't over jump. All right? The best shooters barely get off the ground. Okay? The best shooters barely get off. All right? So you look at Reggie Miller there. He's not jumping as hard as he can to get that shot off. All right, you see he's shooting from distance. He lines up his elbows. you'll see a slight bend. See that slight bend in the knees? That's all he needs to get that ball up. You don't need to jump as high as you can. That slight bend. All right. And remember from our last video, he's in a triple threat. Slight bend. We slightly move forward because he's on his tiptoes. Clean release. All right. And what I look for in shooters is for them to shoot. Oh, keep shooting arm in the 30 to 90. Now, some players will say keep them in the L. Some even say keep it in the U. What I'll say here is that if this is your shoulder, when you're rising up for the shot, your hand should be between the 30 and 90. All right. Now, every body type is different. Let's make a permanent mark here. Let's do this. So the black here. Let's get a little bit different here. So the black here will be your shoulder. That's your shoulder. And the gold will be your arm. So for me, I typically like to keep my forearm within this range. Shooters like Curry, however, you'll see them keep their arm almost at like a 30-degree angle. So we're talking about when you're catching the ball. When you're catching it, get ready to release. And the reason why Curry is able to keep it at this angle is because he brings the ball up tight to his body. And it's something you have to work on. But and I might talk about this again later in the video, but what you'll notice is that the closer you have the ball to your body when you're rising up for the shot, the softer the release and the higher the release is. So that makes it harder for you to get blocked, and it also provides more touch on the ball. And I know I'm making this green, but this does not mean this is the optimal way. All right, I've seen players do the 90-degree one. You have to be careful with that one. Sometimes it's easier to block. It looks a bit more mechanic to me. Let's look at Reggie Miller here. Let's see if we can kind of guess what rise angle he has. I'm going to pick, we'll pick this side angle here. So we'll look right there. You see that? So Reggie Miller's probably like more around the 70 range, it looks like. The 70 range where he's bringing the ball up and then he's releasing out. All right? So please understand what I'm explaining here. What I'm explaining is when you catch the ball. So all these, actually, let's go ahead and put the color here. So all these examples, the basketball is in hand. And I know, you keep the ball in your fingertips. I'm not an artist, so bear with me. But all these examples, the ball is in the hand, right? They're in the hand. And then the release action, let's see if we have another color here. Let's do blue. The release action, the ball is moving forward, and you're holding follow through. Now, the follow through, the shoulder will be up, extended. All right, extend it out, and you hold. Now, the angle is not this angle. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of that altogether. Your angle is going to be up. All right, you want to release high. I don't care how tall you are, release that ball high. All right, so as you bring the ball up, preparing to get into your jump shot motion, let's do temporary one. You're releasing high and you're holding. All right. So keep shooting arm at a 30-degree to 90-degree angle up until release action. Now, what I would say to you is right now, don't focus too much on how your arm is shaped when you're catching it and rising up into that catapult, that shooting motion. What I want you to instead do is focus on keeping the ball close to your body and keeping it in your fingertips. All right. And then naturally, as you begin to work through your mechanics, you'll then decide like what your L shape is. For me, what I kind of do is I kind of angle my my arm a little bit like behind me when I catch the ball, so that when I rise up, the ball's a little bit closer to my body. And of course, I release from my forehead, hold it high, hold the follow tips. All right. Remember, the ball's off the fingertips. It's the principle we've discussed in past videos. I told you this is a really powerful tool that is not coached enough, is not emphasized enough, but is imperative to every aspect of ball work that is in this game. Okay. And I remember at one point there was a discussion about holding the follow through, and that wasn't an important step, or that like you hold your follow through, the defender will go back, will get behind you and break out. For shooters, you need to hold your follow through. All right. I see a lot of bricks. I see a lot of missed shots. Carmelo Anthony will have even more points. He's an amazing scorer, but sometimes he forgets to hold his follow through, and what it causes is your ball doesn't get a full rotation, so you don't get a full rotation behind your hoop. And what you end up doing is almost, how can I compare it? It's kind of like tossing the ball up. It doesn't create a full revolution. All right, so look here, so for Reggie Miller, you see he holds his follow through, and we're just going to follow the energy. Boom. See that energy? Boom. All the way through to the ball. Now imagine if he shoots and then he releases right up there before he holds his follow through, and he doesn't hold it, the ball doesn't all the way revolve off the fingertips. So when you're shooting, even though the ball is starting like on the base of your fingers, while you're rising up, the ball is slowly rotating up to your fingertips. And you need a full release and hold of the follow through in order for the ball to go off of your fingertips. Okay. And so when you don't let that ball release all the way to your fingertips, your shot comes off harder. It's not as accurate, and you don't have as much revolution on it. So it's not, the spin is not as tight, which basically, like in any sport, not any sport, but like in football, if you don't have a tight revolution on it where it leaves off of your fingertips versus the base of your fingers, then you don't have as much control on it. All right, and we have some slow-mo, so I won't belabor the point too much, but let's also just focus here. You see the concept of Reggie Miller squaring up. His elbows aren't as tight as it should be. Look at the elbows a little bit further out, but he does self-correct to pull it in, but he holds his follow-through, releases high, and we see that shot. All right, and just like a catapult over here, you're not going all the way back. Remember, you're not going all the way back here, but you're starting between this 30 and 90-degree angle of catching the ball and then releasing. All right, work on it, and remember, start on the inside and work your way out. All right, so we're on the basketball court now. I spent hours and hours of my game shooting and shooting over again. There's a reason. There is a reason why the best shooters in the NBA, the ones we remember, the ones who stick out to us as the best shooters, are also some of the most disciplined, repetitive, focused players we have. Anybody who's seen, you can go on YouTube and check this out. Stephen Curry's warm-up tells you how obsessive he is about his shot. All right, he has to do the same routine, the same motions, and you know, I can only imagine how detailed he is with his shot when I compare it to how obsessive I became. I mean, it became to the point where I was in such control of my shot that I knew that if I like bit my lip or I held my lip in or I had my tongue out, that my shot would change. My facial expressions would affect how the ball left my finger. If I was just shooting casually, my mouth was wide open, I wouldn't shoot as well. But as in serious game situations where we really needed a shot and I needed to lock in, because sometimes I struggled with focus on the court, especially if we weren't playing against like a really good team. It would take a little bit while for me to get up, but the next thing I know, like I would clench my jaw, or my tongue would be out, or I would be chewing on some type of gum. But this is a full body action. All right, and I brought this up in other videos. To become a good shooter from anywhere, it starts right there. Right there. And it's very clear why this close range is where you improve your shot. It's because this close range is where you develop your touch on the ball. It's where you can master your form because it doesn't take as much power. All you have to do is go to any court where there's a little kid out there, and you'll see some horrible shooting because they do not yet possess the power to shoot from out here. All right. And so they jack up their form. They're catapulting it, but not like in a typical catapult. They're really doing a rocket launcher shot where you see the lead leg that's supposed to be in front, helping you balance your shot, setting up your square up, is actually behind them because they want to project the ball, throw it out. And so what you end up getting is a release that's like this. Right? And you see like this, you got to get lucky for that ball to get in. There is not a lot of room for error. What we want is for the ball to go up and drop down. All right? So remember, the hoop is circle, right? It's a circle. So the most room for it to go in is if you're coming from the top, directly from the top. If you're coming from the angle, you risk hitting the front rim, you risk going along the sides. You have a lot less margin of error. All right, and this is the scientifically looked at. So if you shoot where it's direct, you have a lot less room for mistakes. But if you shoot high, you give yourself a lot better chance to get the ball in. And one of the best examples of this, you want to go out there and really test it, is go find a double rim. And what I want you to do is let me give you an example here. I want you to release and hold your release at this angle versus this angle. What you'll realize is that you're going to make far more shots on that double rim if you shoot higher up in the air versus shooting a direct line. Also, another benefit of a high release is that it's harder for the defense to block your shot. So regardless of how tall you are, you're likely not going to be the tallest person on the court as long as you go through basketball. You're always going to want to have a high release no matter how tall you are. So release high, and that improves your chance to making a shot. Look, it even looks better, right? And so when you release high, something else that I've noticed with release high, you have more room to self-correct. When you shoot direct in your catapulting motion, it's quick. You throw it out hard, right? And so you'll see terrible shooters like Sean Marion, who have terrible form, who kind of have a catapult, try to like flick it up and get more high on the shot for a better chance. But why not just shoot it the right way? So let's go ahead and show our catapult arm like that. So why not catch the ball in the correct shooting pocket? And I would say, actually, let me go back. Let me go and do it how I actually shoot it. So actually in the shooting pocket, when I come there for catapult, I'm more like this angle here. Here's the basketball. And then I'm releasing high. And I'm holding my arm almost at a vertical. So the inside of your bicep, not inside, yeah, the inside of your bicep should be like close to your face. And as you begin to shoot, you'll notice a muscle on like the front side of your shoulder beginning to develop. And that'll also kind of be like locked in on your face. Like it'll get hard over time. And that's the part, that's the muscle in your shoulder that actually gets tired when you're shooting. And so you're going to make that nice and strong, because as you get fatigued, you're not going to make a lot of shots if your shoulder gets tired. All right. So remember, the body's a muscle. You have to train it. All right. So let's actually, I want to finish drawing out this player. All right. There we go. The head. Oh, sorry. I didn't know. I guess he's going to have long, awkward arms. Remember, coach is not an artist. Boom. And remember, he's going to rise that motion up. Get high arc on the ball so that it drops down. And let's give him the final arm will look something like this. There may be a slight bend. That's fine. You want to hold the follow through all the way through to the tip of the fingers. So you'll see them clench down. Look at Allen Hughes, the video I put at the beginning. You'll see the tip of the fingers down. Typically, the pinky will be a little bit higher. That's because it's not as involved in the release of the ball. It's more of a guiding finger on that right hand. And you don't want to have the left, well, if you're shooting right-handed, you don't want to have the left hand involved at all in the power. It can be a little bit involved in the accuracy, but really what it's there to is just to secure the ball in the right hand and for that right hand motion. You'll see a lot of coaches work with players and have them just shoot with one hand. Of course, they start on the inside because you have the most control of the ball. You don't need as much power, so you can work on your form. I would do that if you're a terrible shooter, but I think you should have the discipline to be aware of your thumb, your offhand thumb and those fingers, so it doesn't affect your shot. But again, this has to be corrected at a young age, because if not, it's really hard to break this mechanic. And you'll see players like Lonzo Ball, who's incredibly athletic and a really good passer, but unfortunately his parents and his coaches never corrected his shot. And so now he's in the NBA at the highest level trying to fix a shot. and he likely will never be able to get it to the level that it needs to be because they let him skate with it. A scout, he went high in the draft, but it's shocking when you draft a point guard who shoots like that. It's not going to be a consistent shot. There is no top shooter, there is no top threat who shoots like that. And for those who know his shot, the elbows all over the place. It's outside. Well, it used to be. He corrected it now. It looks a lot better. But it used to be outside of the body. He released from the opposite side of his face. So I'm right-handed. I'm releasing from the left side, which causes like a wonky like release that kind of drives the ball out to the right. And of course, it doesn't go in. It's not a horrible shot. I've seen a lot worse shots, but the fact is that basic mechanic that could have got corrected at a really young age wasn't corrected, and now he's paying for it at the highest of levels. And there's only so much time that you have to get better at it. Now, hopefully he'll continue to grow at it. He did fix the shot. It looks a lot better, but only time will tell if he'll actually be able to, fix it. So again, you start on the inside, work your way out. And the rule of thumb is that if you can't make 3 shots in a row in a spot, now this is me being nice. A lot of coaches say 3 spots isn't enough. For this example, I'll say 3 spots. If you can't make 3 spots, 3 shots in a row, so that'll be 1 and 2. You're just taking 1 step back, 1 step back, 1 step back. Same on the front and on the side. That's how you want to do it. 1 step back, 1 step back, 1 step back, 1 step back. And if you can't make 3 steps in a row, 3 shots in a row, and make a step back, then you've hit your range. And don't be embarrassed if you don't get past the first one. I've seen it a million of times. You stand there and you work on it. You knock down that 3 times in a row, and then you take your step back. Don't cheat yourself. Don't cheat the drill. So you get 1, 2, 3, and work your way back. And what you'll notice is that you're starting to need more power in your legs, but you don't need as much as you typically think. And that's why this drill is so powerful. It teaches you the subtle actions, the subtle forms. Instead of just shooting out here and maxing out your body trying to get there, you're going to learn that it's just subtle mechanics in your shot that you need to get that range. All right. It's very subtle. It's a slight bend of the knee. So let's go ahead. Let's just show some knee examples. So shooting from that close up, that's probably as much bend in the knee as you want. But as you go further back, you may need a little bit more, 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 and then maybe get out here. You may need to get a little more like that. That's if you're a younger player. As you get older and you work out more, you can probably hit a 3 or get that distance from just a slight bend. All right. And so that's a really important mechanic that a lot of players miss. A lot of people who want to be shooters struggle with. They don't learn them. Adding in some feet now. All right. You guys love my art skills. I know you do. All right. And so the only way for you to do this is for you to be in the gym by yourself and work on your shot. All right. I know we want to go with our friends all the time and we want to, show them that we can make a 3, but that's not going to get you better. You might hit a miracle 3 1 or 2 times, but in the game, you're not going to be able to consistently hit that shot because you don't know how to control your release. So in those times where you can get to the court by yourself, and there's always times you can get there before your friends get there, you can stay after. Many a times I was shooting in the rain, I was shooting in the snow, I was shooting when it was extremely hot outside. You have time to be in the gym or on the outside court by yourself. And when you're out there by yourself, start on the inside. I guarantee you, any good shooter that you know, see what they do on the court. They start on the inside. We saw it in that Allen Houston clip. He started on the inside. All right. I've seen great shooters. Went to a basketball camp. I'm not gonna say school, but yeah, it's a D1 college. Went to a basketball camp there, and there's a prolific point guard, one of my favorites, and he showed us a shooting drill a lot. And what he did was he did this exact drill. He stood in front of the hoop when he made a shot. He was just trying to show us his range. He made a shot and took a step back. Take a shot and took a step back. He started on the inside and he made every single shot all the way until he got to half court. All right. And what he taught us was that this form didn't change because he had matched the power and how much kinetic energy he needs to get from the balls of his feet through his body to get that release so that you don't have to overshoot. All right. These are relaxed motions. If you want to become a shooter, this is a relaxed action. You release high. But the only way to do that is to build those muscles and to keep those mechanics the same. All right. And the only way to build those mechanics, because coaches just can't make you shoot the same way every time, is you have to start on the inside. Do it right from the beginning. Work on it. If you have a janky shot, if you do, if you're catapulting the ball out, you have a janky shot. And I hate that I use catapult in the other example, but when I mean catapulting, it's not, okay, catapulting is the correct way to shoot. So let me use the correct one. If you're projecting, if you're throwing the ball hard out, then you are shooting the wrong way. You need to reset your shot and start from the inside. And yes, it might suck. You might have had some small success with it, but if you really want to take your game to the next level, you're going to have to start from the inside and reset that shot. Okay? Reset it. Do it as soon as you can, because I'm warning you, it will catch up with you. It will catch up with you, especially if you want to be a shooter. That's the only way to do it. All right? And it starts in the gym. It starts on the inside. And it's all up to you. All right. Coaches can make small adjustments to improve your shooting in practice. But if you don't do that work outside the gym, it means nothing. And the sooner you fix your mechanics, the better. So in those moments where your competition is probably sitting at home drinking hot cocoa, you need to go out there and put up some shots on the basketball hoop. Create challenges for yourself. I'm not going to be out there with you, so I'm not going to see where you're struggling. Put yourself in uncomfortable situations, but focus on what your body's doing and focus on the tip of your toes to the top of your release. It's a full body action. What you'll hear all shooters say is that there should be no hitches in your shot. It's a fluid motion. No hitch. Fluid motion. All right. From the tip of your toes, that's his toes, right? Okay. All right, these will be sneakers. All right. Tip of your toes. And his foot is way too far ahead of him. I know. I don't know. You get what I'm saying? From the tip of his toes all the way through. And let's just show the kinetic energy and how it goes to the body. So it starts at the tip. It balances itself out in your core. You get more power from that. And then that shoots through your shoulder. And then it releases actually in this action because it leaves your fingertips around here. Leaves your fingertips around here. And then you continue that follow through so that when it leaves your fingertips, you actually get a spin. A tight spin on that ball. All right, so I know it's a lot of drawings on the screen. I hope that this wasn't too confusing. If it was, go back and play it again. I promise you it'll be clearer if you rewatch it. If you've never done these mechanics, go outside, watch this video, go outside, work through some of these drills, then come back and listen to it again, and I guarantee it'll make more sense, all right? But the main keys here is to focus on your form, square up, release high, keep your elbow in, and start from the inside and work your way out. All right, so the alchemy of it all. So right now we're going to focus in on Steph Curry really quickly, and I just really want to push these points home. And so I have two more examples of his shot just to show some of the things we're talking about. I'll go over the alchemy in a second. We're going to go from left image, then discussing the alchemy, and then we're going to go through the slow-mo to discuss some of those principles. So the reason why I have this side angle is because I want to show you how close this ball is. All right, look at where he catches it, and he maintains the ball close to his body, as close as possible. You see that tight, almost 30-degree release. So that means he's getting max power, but he's releasing high on that ball. And you see he leaves his fingertips, and he holds that follow through, maintaining eye contact with the rim, and releasing from his forehead. All right, you see, it gives a slight bit of angle to the shot from the side of his head. This typically you see this for shooters who want to shoot particularly high and provide a certain level of softness to their shot. You decide if you want that or not. Kevin Garnett, who people don't consider as a really good shooter, he was a pretty decent shooter. He needed a little bit more height on his shot, but he also had a bit of a hitch as well, like that came from the side. So I just focused on a little bit of motion that he's releasing here. He's not shooting high. You can see that here. His feet are not going high from the ground. That means he has a solid base. You see that KD bend right there, and what that bend with the knee does is it helps you. Let's start from it helps you keep that elbow in. Keep that elbow in tight, and then you hold that follow through. All right, so the alchemy of the shot is keep the ball tight when raising a ball. Again, just keep looking at it. It's a beautiful shot. Boom, clean. Keep that ball tight. Keep the guiding hand from interfering with the power behind the ball. Look at it. The left hand is just a guide hand. You see at the finish of it, it doesn't change its mood. It's on the side of that ball, and it has no impact on the power. So your power is generating here, and it's going pretty much exclusively to that right hand, right? It's going up through that right hand. You can even see some of the muscles. Look at the elbow there. You can see the vein, the muscles that come from constant repetition of shooting that ball. And I spoke about the muscle in your shoulder that develops over time with your shooting. It's that muscle right there. And it kind of crooks in. All right. And that also allows you to keep the ball tight because you want to keep it centered to your head. All right. That's a straight line shot. Now, the feet aren't ideal, but he shot it so much that this just little hitch right here probably just gives him a better competitive advantage to keep that elbow tight. All right. You're going to engage shoulders when in rising motion. That's what I mean by keeping that shoulder tucked in. Again, the reason for that is it maximizes how much power you have on it. Then you can shoot higher up in the air. It gives you greater control. And it also helps you keep your elbow in. And again, the most important thing, the recurring theme, is the repetition and consistency that is behind this action. All right. Know your release point. Hold on. Let's see. I have another typo here. Let's talk to the editor here. These are pretty simple mistakes, huh? But yeah, know your release point. Know your release point. And put that back down. All right. And so this is something I struggled with as a younger player. I wasn't strong enough in my base to shoot as far as I wanted to. This before I really started focusing on the principles. Your release point is important. You'll notice with younger players, they'll try to shoot. Oh, sorry. Let me switch that. So, younger players, they'll try to shoot from their chest. This is just to generate more power because they don't think that they can keep the power up for a high release. So you're shooting from your chest, the ball doesn't go as high. You want to start right now. I don't care what age you are. You want to start releasing from your head, let's say the bottom of your chin to your forehead, and eventually get to a forehead release. You want to have a high release there because it gives you the maximum bend on your arm, and that gives you more touch. Just look at it. You see it right there? Now picture if he had a ball right there, the ball will come out straighter. You wouldn't get as high of a release, and it wouldn't give you as much power behind the shot. All right? So know your release point. And the way you know your release point is by focusing in on where the ball is, not necessarily where you're releasing it, but where you're pushing out. So actually, let me point out what that release point is. What I mean by that. Your release point is right there. Let's bring it down. Your release point is, sorry, it's getting late here. Your release point is right there. All right. It's where you go into your catapult motion. All right. So remember we talked about those 30, 60, 90 degrees. It's where you power up, boom, and release the ball, where you're going into the release. So I guess a good way to put it is where you're having maximum strength on the ball. Because as you begin to go into the forward release of the shot, where you're going in through your follow through, the power is then beginning to dissipate into the ball. So release point. And let's look at it on this angle. Release point's right there. You see? So it's from the forehead right there. Boom. So once the ball starts to move forward, that's your release point. Okay. And you want to have that as high as possible on your body. Certain shooters like Kevin Garnett went so far as to have it like at the top of their head, which I'm sure he did that because it makes it harder to block the shot. But you also lose a bit of control when you do that. So I don't recommend the top of your head, especially if you're a three-point shooter, because it's going to take a bit more power in your legs to get that off. And if you push for too much power in your legs, you're going to kill the accuracy of the shot. All right. So we have reached the end of the shooting drill. Of all the videos, I think this is the one that has the most value, the most alchemy in it, that you'll need to go back and rewatch again after you've gone out and put up the same shots. All right, so put up the same shots, same form every time. Learn your shot. Get to the point where you can almost shoot with your eyes closed. This is something you could work on by yourself. Some shooters have gotten so good that they can shoot and literally put a particular spin on the ball and aim it in a certain way where you'll hit it and the ball rolls back to you. For those who have that little thing under the hoop where the ball rolls to you after you make it, if you like that, cool. I don't like it. I feel like you need to feel the entire motion and see the entire action of the ball going in, and honestly feel the disappointment of if you shoot it a certain way and it doesn't come back to you. You'll see a lot of really good shooters who have gotten to the point where they can shoot and the ball hits so perfectly in the rim that it literally, like I said, comes back to them. All right. And this is just my last ode to Ray Allen and the amazing work ethic that he put into his shot. I have certain sticklers when it comes to shooting. As I said, I feel like I've mastered the art of shooting. Your shooting arm, there should be nothing on it. It should be a bare arm. Put a sleeve on the other arm. Whenever I see someone with something on their shooting arm, whether it's a sleeve or even like if it's something on your wrist, I think the wrist is fine. Maybe like a wristband a little bit further back. But if there's anything on your elbow that could constrict the motion of your release, then that tells me you're not a shooter. That's just my personal belief in it. I guess you can have an undershirt and like a short sleeve undershirt, but when we're getting to see the sleeve that Ray Allen has on his left arm, like if he had that on his other arm, then there would be, this is just sticker. There's nothing behind this. It's just my particular belief that you're not as good of a shooter. So like when I saw Reggie Miller doing that and Carmelo Anthony doing it, it let me know that they aren't shooters of the ilk of a Ray Allen, Reggie Miller, Stephen Curry, Cuttino Mobley, Allen Houston, Michael Redd, and the list goes on and on and on. And I'm excited to see the future generation of shooters. I hope that I'm talking to them right now. And I hope you're listening and you're working on it. And remember, give the B-Ball Hoop Collective a shout out. This is Basketball Alchemy. Please like and subscribe. We love the energy this season, and we can't wait to push the needle even further. We want to get better together. Leave your comments down below. Let me know how you feel about it. Anything you question or have any questions about, please feel free to reach out, and we're going to get to it. All right, love y'all. Stay competitive. Always compete. And remember, shoot or shoot. So don't ever hesitate. Out.
People hoop really
My father taught me. He was a coach, so he taught me just the fundamentals of how to keep your arm, where to keep your hands, the rotation, and the elbow. Every day, if not every day, on a very consistent basis. I just go around different spots and I might make 6 or 8 or 10 in a row at one spot, and I go behind the 3 and I might make 3 or 5 in a row and move to the next spot. And sometimes if you're just shooting shots, you're just shooting them. But if you're shooting shots to make them consecutively, it really makes you focus. It heightens your focus, and it helps your confidence because you're used to making consecutive shots in a row. And I think that's helped my my shooting percentage. You don't want to have the ball in your palm like this. You want to shoot it like this on your fingertips. A lot of times I see kids, because they may not know or just may feel right, have it like this. I have my wrist cocked all the way back before I even get ready to shoot it. The ball is not like this. It's like that. I don't know, a lot of people, just keep that left hand right here on the side. I don't really try to use my left hand a lot, so I just keep it right here just to hold it right in position. So I keep it like this instead of like that. I like to really, if you see my shot, I really have my arm extended, like my elbow is locked out, and my arm, it really goes up. I see a lot of kids, and they shoot the ball, and they have the arm out. And it's really hard, to shoot the ball like that, because if you don't keep your elbow in here and tight, that's how I keep the ball on line. A lot of times I still have to correct myself, even in practice when I'm doing shooting drills, to keep that elbow in. I tend to keep my right foot in front most of the time because my left foot is usually what they call the pivot foot, the foot that stays down.
Landing sequence initiated.